Now we need to talk about my other favorite person, Ethan Ralph. Ethan Ralph has started up a new podcast called The Good, the Bad, and the Rad, starring Rad Roberts. And we're going to listen to a couple minutes of this. Some nice classical music picked up by Ralph.
Hey, how is everybody doing? So I put out a Twitter poll a couple days ago asking for people what they wanted me to talk about in this promotional video, because a certain someone had insinuated that I was a sick fuck for wanting to make this channel. They don't even know what it's about yet, but I thought, hey, let's indulge it. What is it that makes up a sick fuck? So I wanted to know, hey, do you guys want me to talk about my recent revenge porn conviction? Do you want me to talk about my felony conviction? Do you want me to talk about my alcoholism or my serious substance abuse? Some people got the joke, some people didn't. Obviously, I don't have any of those problems. I'm not a convicted revenge pornographer. I'm not a felon, not an alcoholic. I barely drink in public and socially, and I never drink while I'm alone because that's kind of just sad.
Here, I want you guys to look at something. In case you're listening, I'll explain in a second. Watch his eyes very closely. Can I zoom in? What's my options here for zooming in? I don't think I can zoom in. Just watch his eyes the best you can.
You guys want me to talk about my recent revenge porn conviction?
Do you see this? One more time, chat. One more time. Watch his eyes.
Revenge porn conviction. Do you want me to talk about my felony conviction? Do you want me to
See, Ethan Ralph, after going to Portugal and getting his skull cracked, now blinks one eyelid at a time, which makes me believe that maybe Ethan Ralph is dead. And this Ethan Ralph is actually a lizard person who has stolen his skin. After his purse was stolen on the street, and a lizard person stole his skin and is now wearing it and cannot blink correctly. He's still figuring out, like, the skin's not attached properly to the meat. So he's breaking it in still. Very strange. I'll let him continue.
And I've never abused substances, with the exception of maybe some Diet Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Guilty.
The point is that Ralph is making that his arch nemesis, Matthew Vickers, is a worse person than he is, because Matthew Vickers has done all these terrible things, like publishing revenge pornography and being an alcoholic and knocking up women, yada yada yada. And obviously Ethan Ralph is a better person than Matthew Vickers, so he has to go and form a nice list and make a new podcast all about his life and how he's better than Matthew Vickers. And the things and he even decorates his little room. He's got Funko Pops back there. Looks like the gauntlet from the Purple Man, Purple Shrek. Purple Shrek has a big metal fist that you put gems into, and that looks like the Shrek's gauntlet. And then you have a GameCube back there, and and his little logo of his brand. So he's like custom printed a picture of his fucking face on a pillow, so he can put it in the back of his room and pretend that he's like a real YouTuber, so that he can make a better podcast than Matthew Vickers' podcast. Ralph is just going to sit here and look. You know how much I use that same mic. You know how fucking expensive that mic is. That's like a $600 microphone. That whole setup is like $1,000. If he bought like the equipment and shit too, that's like $1,000. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to make a podcast better than Matthew Vickers, and I'm going to make it super professional. I'm going to have my nice arrangement of Funko Pops, and I see a silver coin back there, and a pillow of my fucking face on the fucking shelf, and I'm just going to show Matthew Vickers that I am the better man. But really, Ethan Ralph and Matthew Vickers are pretty much the same fucking person, which is why, as I've said in the past, that the reason why Faith went out of town and got knocked up is to spite Daddy, and Ethan Ralph and Matthew Vickers are exactly like each other. He makes I need a sign. If I had a room like this, I would be tapping a sign in the back on my shelf that says if you need to tell people you're better than someone, you're probably not. And Vickers falls right into that. I can tell that my chat is mostly midwits. The joke is that they're the same fucking person. Okay, chat, you gotta. They're the same person. He has his podcast. He has the same personality disorders, the same like weird defiance disorders. And he's sitting there and he's desperately trying to explain. He's making a show. He's bootstrapping a entire YouTube podcast off the fact that his daughter was fucked and impregnated and humiliated by Ethan Ralph. He is taking that notoriety of being the dipshit retard father that birthed such a that impregnated, that arose the spawn of someone so fucking retarded and mentally shattered that they were impregnated by Ethan Ralph. He is now taking that utter humiliation, the desecration of his family name, and the offspring of, and using that infamy to build a podcast so that he can prove to Ethan Ralph that he's a better podcaster and entertainer than him. For whatever reason, because he has the same utterly spiteful, insipid, low IQ personality that Ralph has. And he went to all the fucking lengths. I can see his I forget what you call it. That thing that you see, the silver thing in the back there that looks like a car radio. I have something like that on my desk. I can use it to like fuck with my volume. Oh, sorry, I blew your eardrums out. I shouldn't fuck with my volume to demonstrate that I have one of these things on my desk. Anyways, it's a lot of money, is what I'm trying to say. He put all this money in. He put a lot of money into this setup so that he can prove to the world that he's better than Ethan Ralph. Muted. I'm not muted, chat. Don't fuck with me. I'll let it. Actually, I've not watched this all the way through. We'll go until we get bored.
But while we're at it, there's this list of other things. I've numbered them because it's important. Number 1, never knocked up a woman out of wedlock.
Oh, that's right. He just goes on a list and says, like, I've never done these things that are bad. I'll skip the list. Oh, God, I'm going to break my chat because I refreshed the page.
My kids, let alone 100%, make mistakes. I got it. Even 4 or 5 of those things, I would say, if the person's apologetic, they could, make it through. But 22 things.
He really listed 22
and
fucking
I'm a
things?
sick fuck for some videos.
He looks so much like Ralph. Look at him.
Well,
look at how much he looks like Ralph. He looks like if you took Ethan Ralph in one hand and Boogie in the other and went bam and smashed them together. That's the motherfucker that would fall out between your hands onto your head, okay? That's the person. Even sounds like Boogie. Like his speaking and his demeanor is exactly like Boogie. He just looks like Ralph with Boogie's beard and mannerisms.
Wind to number 11 because chances are a storm's fucking coming.
A storm's coming. Okay, so he's threatening. Exactly like Ralph. Exactly like Ralph, sitting there going, Mr. Vickers is saying all this shit on me on fucking Twitter. Well, I'll show him, motherfucker. You better watch, boy. Storm's coming. Like, okay, Rad Roberts. And his whole thing, his name is like Vicious Vickers, which is exactly like Rad Roberts. It's like, in every way, this man is a reflection of Ethan Ralph. And just like Ethan Ralph, he can't fucking tell. He either can't tell or he refuses to admit it. It's so baffling. And he thinks, and just like Ralph, he's on Twitter replying to Faith in public on Twitter, even though they're related, saying, Faith says, supposedly I'm a meth head because sharp canines and yellow teeth. And yes, it looks like she's a fucking meth head. In fact, her boyfriend accused her of doing meth and she has meth mouth. Vickers replies to his daughter, who had Ethan Ralph's child, saying, it's a typical no evidence, connect the dots, Kiwi Spurg, same words that Ralph uses to describe the forum, Kiwi Spurg narrative from back in the early days, kind of like how Faith still lives at home, moved out well over a year ago, and how I'm raising Xander. I've changed 2 diapers. Even Noel follows the false narratives like gospel. Even Noel. So he's even developing like a weird, like one-sided feud where he has to like prove me wrong as well. He's responding, by the way, to me making fun of him on the forum for raising Ralph's baby. Right now, the only person, like, he has, I think one grandchild between his kids, and it is genetically half Ralph. And I said, you have been cucked. Your dynasty has been irreparably infused with this man who you hate, who you loathe, who you have based an entire internet persona around being in a feud with, who you've spent thousands of dollars to fuck with in the courts. This man owns your bloodline. He owns it. And you've raised another man's child because your single mom daughter can't do it by herself. So he refutes this and goes, I've only changed 2 diapers and she actually lives with grandma. So like your ass just admits, number one, you don't want to support these people because they're fucking losers. So she goes off to grandma's house, who is probably fucking 80 years old at this point. And also is like ashamed of raising this grandkid. I've changed 2 diapers. My grandfather would not be ashamed to admit that he helped raise me. Like, there would be no shame there. But he has to back this up and say, actually, I've only changed its diapers twice. Like, why do you have to say that? Why do you have to say that, Vickers? Why do you have to say that you've only changed its diapers twice and you have minimal involvement in its life? Is it because you're ashamed of this child that you are now genetically related to and will probably be your only genetic legacy at this point? Is this why you have to clarify that you only have changed its diapers twice and you have no involvement with it? Is that why, Vickers? Is it because you're ashamed of this fucking blight in your family? Could that be why? Like, unbelievable. And it's such a Ralph move, too. To say something stupid that admits something about how you feel about your own grandkid because you have to prove people on the internet wrong. Like, how embarrassing. And this dumb motherfucker really thinks that the forum won't last until this kid can read. I guarantee you it will. Even if you come to my house and shoot me fucking dead, there is archives of this. There are people who have access to the database. There are people who can pull this hard drive out and make it live, and who would do so. I remember, I can't remember what the context was, but I remember, like, I had a buddy contact me out of the blue and said, like, he was making plans to come back to the U.S. to get my fucking hard drives because he thought I had died for some reason. So it's like the moment I disappear, there are people who are like, okay, we have to go to Vegas and we have to secure the hard drives of the Kiwi Farms. We have to find the cloud backup of the site and bring it back to life. It's like, he's just unbelievably short-sighted, exactly like Ralph. And anytime I can say anything about him, I can always add exactly like Ralph, because it's always exactly like Ralph. Even the fact that he denies that it's exactly like Ralph is exactly like Ralph. Because you compare Ralph to Monday Matt, and he's like, nah, boy. Nah. Because he either refuses to admit it or doesn't believe it. Just crazy. Just crazy, chat. Very interesting. Yeah, dude, this poor kid has his whole family of locales documented on the internet, even with grandpa now. Exactly. Yeah, like his daughter, his mom is a fucking retard. He'll be able, kids at his school will see this woman's asshole being penetrated and sniffed by Ethan or Ralph. They will see the moment of his conception on the internet and bully him for it. And there is a that's not a joke. There's an epidemic right now, from what I understand, in low income schools where teachers have issues with children finding their classmates' OnlyFans and bullying them for it. Like, here's pictures of your mom naked, retard. Like, obviously that's going to fucking happen. And then they're going to see, oh, my grandpa distanced himself from me and says that he involves himself minimally with me and shipped my mom off to live with someone else because he doesn't want to be around me, so that he can put up some kind of fucking internet feud with 2 different retards on the internet. Like, how cringe. How pathetic. How utterly fucking pathetic. How soul-crushingly pathetic to even think about that this kid is raised in this environment. Sucks to be I don't know how I'm going to follow that up with Jake Paul. Oh, jeez. That's all I have to say about Vickers. I have nothing to say about Ralph. I can't tell you what he's been up to. I think he's been, like, on the beach. He went to AFPAC or something. Fumbled around in AFPAC. And he wasn't a speaker. Nick Fuentes is not dumb enough to let that man near a microphone.